There's a house on your street that doesn't quite add up. The couple who lives there both seem to work normal jobs. The cars in the driveway aren't flashy. The lawn is well kept, but not professional. And yet, something about their life math doesn't fit. They took 2 vacations this year while everyone else took 1. Their kids do every extracurricular while everyone else's kids do too. They never seem stressed about the same things you stress about. You wonder if they inherited money. Probably not. You wonder if one of them is secretly a doctor? Probably not. You wonder if they have a trust fund. Almost certainly not. The actual answer is usually simpler. One or both of them is running a quiet side business, and they have built it carefully enough that you never noticed. There are 13 signs that show up when your neighbor has a side business. They're not advertising. Some are visible from the curb. Most you only notice if you know what to look for. And the patterns are remarkably consistent across neighborhoods, income levels, and regions. The signs in this video apply whether the household lives in a Texas suburb or a New England small town. The structure of a quiet side business produces the same surface signals everywhere. My name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, side income psychology, and why the people quietly running profitable side businesses in modern America are almost entirely invisible to the people who live next to them. If you've ever wondered why some neighbors seem to live just slightly better than the salaries on their block should allow, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it ends up helping you read your street more accurately. Let me set expectations up front. These signs aren't about wealthy neighbors or trust fund kids. The wealthy display their wealth in completely different ways, and trust fund kids usually don't bother hiding anything. The signs in this video are about ordinary households who built something. They look like regular middle-class neighbors with regular middle-class jobs. The hidden part is the second income source running in the background. According to Bankrate's 2025 Side Hustle Survey, around 27% of American adults have some form of side income. But the share running an actual organized side business with a brand, a process, and recurring customers is much smaller. Maybe 1 in 10 households. That's still roughly 12 million American households quietly running side businesses. Some are big, most are small. All of them have learned to keep things low-key. And the reason they're quiet isn't shame. We'll get to that. But for now, just know that the signs in this video describe a population that genuinely exists, even if it's mostly invisible from the outside. The Bureau of Labor Statistics also tracks people working multiple jobs separately. That number hit 9.3 million in November 2025, highest ever recorded since they started tracking it in 1994, 5.7% of the workforce. But the multiple job holder count understates the actual scale of side income, because most people running side businesses don't show up in that survey. They have 1 W-2 and 1 private business, not 2 W-2. The real number of households with serious side income, when you combine multiple job holders with quiet business operators, is closer to 30 million, about 1 in 5 American households. Let me walk you through the 13 signs. The first cluster of signs is visible from your driveway or your front window. Things you can notice without ever talking to them. The first sign is the inconsistent vehicle traffic. Most neighbors get the same cars coming and going on the same rhythm. They're cars. Maybe a relative, the occasional delivery. The side business neighbor has different vehicles at different times. Customers, clients, vendors, suppliers, people you don't recognize, showing up on what look like meeting schedules. You'll notice this over months. The pattern isn't dramatic. It's just that there are more people coming to that house than you'd expect for a household that simply works regular jobs. The second sign is package volume. Most households get a few boxes a week, maybe more around the holidays. Your side business neighbor gets significantly more year-round. The packages don't look like personal shopping. Many of them are awkward shapes. Some go out as well as come in. The volume doesn't match a normal consumer household. Walk past their house on trash day, and you'll see the difference. Their recycling has more cardboard than the rest of the block. Their bin is heavier. The volume tells you something. The third sign is they're home at odd hours during the week. Mid-morning, Tuesday. Wednesday afternoon. They're not on vacation. They're just there. And when they're working, not yard work, real work. You can sometimes see them on calls. Sometimes you see them carrying things in and out. Their week doesn't have the same shape as everyone else's. This is one of the clearer signs because it shows up over and over. Once you've noticed it twice, you start counting how often it happens. The frequency is what gives them away. The fourth sign is they have a slightly modified house in some way. A garage that's been converted to a workspace. An outbuilding that wasn't there last year. A driveway extended to fit more cars. These modifications don't look like hobby projects. They're functional. They're designed for some specific activity that needs space. And the activity is, almost never personal. For signs in... Now the financial signs that show up, even though they're not displaying wealth, this is the cluster that takes longer to spot because these signs require knowing the neighbor a little or watching over months. But once you notice them, the picture gets clear. The fifth sign is they pay for things in cash more than the average person. Cash at the farmer's market. Cash for landscaping. Cash for school fundraisers. Cash flow from a side business is, in part, designed around having some flexibility on what gets reported and when. The neighbor with a quiet business has more cash on hand than the neighbor without one, even at the same salary band. This isn't necessarily about tax evasion. It's just that side business owners deal with cash transactions regularly, so they always have some on hand. Pure W-2 earners almost never do. The sixth sign is their consumer choices. Don't fit the salary the rest of the block would assume they have. Not because they're showing off, because they have more disposable income than the salary alone would explain. The discretionary spending shows up in small ways. A nicer grill, a better camping setup, the kids in summer programs that cost something. These aren't luxury items individually, but they add up, and the patterns don't quite match what their salary band would predict. That mismatch is the tell. The seventh sign is they never look stressed in early December. Most American households go through December with some financial anxiety, holiday gifts, year-end taxes, property tax bills, end-of-year expenses. The side business neighbor handles all of it without visible stress because their cash flow is structurally different from a single salary household. December stress is one of the most reliable signals in this entire list. Watch your block in early December. The households without side income tighten up. The households with side income don't. The difference is visible if you're paying attention. 7 signs in. Let's go to the lifestyle and time cluster. The lifestyle signs are interesting because they're the ones that other neighbors complain about most. The vacation patterns, the kid activities, the schedule flexibility. These are the things that breed the small resentments that side business owners are usually trying to avoid by staying quiet. The 8th sign is they have flexible midweek schedules. Even though they have what looks like a regular job, they can attend a school event on a Wednesday afternoon. They can be at a doctor appointment on Tuesday morning. That kind of flexibility is rare for traditional employees. It usually means either they negotiated something unusual or they have a second income source that buys them schedule freedom. Watch how often they're at events that pure office workers can't attend. The pattern reveals more than any single instance does. The 9th sign is their kids do unusually structured activities. Tutoring, travel, sports, music lessons, camps that cost real money. Not one or two of these. Several of these sustained over years. The math on those activities is hard for a single salary household at most income levels. The side business neighbor handles it because their household has 2 streams of money, not one. And the kids in those activities are often the visible expression of the parents' deliberate financial choices. The parents aren't displaying their money on themselves. They're investing it in the kids. The 10th sign is their vacations have an odd pattern. They go somewhere meaningful at least twice a year. Sometimes one of the trips is in a shoulder season nobody else can take. Off-peak, midweek, weeks when most workers can't get away. That pattern, again, points to schedule control that pure employees don't have, and to disposable income that pure employees don't have. 11th sign. They're remarkably calm during economic news cycles. When unemployment numbers climb, when layoffs hit local employers, when inflation news spikes, their neighbors get tense. They don't, because their financial security isn't tied to the news cycle in the same way. They have buffer most people don't have. You'll see this most clearly during major economic events. The neighbors who panic and the neighbors who don't are sorted by whether they have multiple income sources, not by whether they're objectively wealthy. That's 11. Last cluster. 2 signs about how they handle conversations. These last 2 are subtle. They show up only in extended interaction. But if you talk to your neighbor regularly, you'll start to recognize them. The 12th sign is they ask weird, specific questions when you tell them what you do for work, not generic interest. Specific questions about your clients, your pricing, your retention rate, those are business owner questions. People without side businesses don't ask them because they've never had to think that way. Neighbor asking has, already thought about it themselves. The 13th sign is the deepest. They're vague about their second income, even when you ask directly. You catch them coming home with what looks like business inventory. You ask casually what it's for. They give an answer. They smile. They redirect. Not because they're being secretive in a sinister way, because they've learned that telling neighbors about a side business almost always invites awkward dynamics. The vagueness is consistent across contexts. They use the same deflection at block parties, at school events, at the grocery store. Practiced, smooth, almost reflexive at this point. But here's the part most people completely miss. And it might be the most important point in this entire video. The reason side business neighbors hide what they're doing isn't competitive secrecy. It's relational management. The moment your neighbors know you have a profitable side business, the relationships change subtly but persistently, and almost never for the better. Some neighbors start asking favors that wouldn't have come up otherwise. Some neighbors start making slightly bitter comments. Some neighbors start treating your kids' activities as somehow extravagant when they wouldn't have noticed before. Other neighbors come to you for business advice they don't really want to follow, or for business partnerships you don't want to enter, or for jobs in your business that don't actually exist. None of this is malicious, but all of it is exhausting. And once you have a working side business, the easiest thing to do is just to never mention it. There's also a deeper layer. American culture has weird rules about visible private business success at the neighborhood level. Salary success is socially accepted. Recognized career advancement is fine. A neighbor making their primary income from their own business often gets treated as either showing off or somehow doing something suspicious. Neither reaction is fair. Both are common. The path of least resistance is, just to not provoke the reaction. Live in a modest house. Drive a normal car. Don't display anything. Just quietly bank the difference. There's also the IRS angle. Side business owners have learned that talking openly about their income increases the chances of getting weird questions from people who might mention it to the wrong audience. Discretion is, in part, just operational security. The result is an invisible class of households on every American street that have quietly built financial security through side businesses and then quietly kept that security to themselves. Most aren't rich. They're not even close. They're just structurally more secure than the salary alone would suggest. And here's the deeper thing. The Bankrate 2025 survey shows side hustle income trends are bifurcated. The median is dropping. The average is roughly flat. But the top 10% of side hustlers keep pulling further away from the rest. The neighbors you can now identify by these 13 signs are mostly in the top 10%. They figured out the structural difference between casual side hustling and a real second income business. The casual co-workers driving for delivery apps are not the same population. The signs are different. The math is different. The behavior is different. The casual side hustler talks about it openly. They mention the gig. They share the screenshot of their earnings. The serious business operator almost never does. That difference in disclosure is, by itself, often the cleanest signal of which group someone is in. And here's where this gets practical. If you can identify someone in your neighborhood with a quiet side business, you have access to one of the most valuable resources in modern personal finance. Not because they'll teach you their system, they probably won't. They've spent too much time hiding it to suddenly share. But because you can study them, watch what they do, not what they say. See what they don't worry about. See where they spend money and where they don't. See how they handle their time. That's free education. The kind that almost never shows up in courses or YouTube videos because it's local, it's specific, it's grounded in your actual context. Proximity to someone who already built what you're trying to build is, by itself, one of the strongest predictors of whether you'll eventually do it too. The single biggest factor isn't motivation. It's seeing it happen in your own life. That's why these signs matter beyond just curiosity. Recognizing them changes what feels possible. Look, the goal of this video isn't to teach you to investigate your neighbors. That would be weird and probably unhealthy. The goal is to teach you to see the invisible economy that's quietly running underneath the visible economy of front yards and minivans. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And the deeper question is whether the signs are starting to apply to you, whether you're moving in the direction of becoming one of these quietly secure households. You don't need a six-figure business. You don't need to quit your job. You don't need any dramatic move at all. You just need to build one income source outside your employer, slowly, quietly, without telling anyone. Just like the neighbors on this list, that single move puts you on the same path they walked. And the path, once you're on it, tends to widen. You're not failing for not having gotten there yet. The system isn't designed to show you these patterns. Most people walk past them their whole lives. The math doesn't care about how quiet your money is. It only cares about how much shows up next month. And the neighbors you can now identify by these 13 signs didn't have any secret advantage. They just stopped waiting for permission. They picked one small operation and kept it running. Trust me, your future self will thank you for noticing what's been happening on your block in plain sight.